Released for the Sega Genesis in 1991, kids born after 2000 would never know the pure joy of playing Sega games like ToeJam and Earl. Back in those days, cartoon-styled humor and gaming themes were a big hit and never needed as much hype as games need today. In this video, we'll talk about ToeJam and Earl fans receiving a movie adaptation by Steph and Curry and what made the game so popular. First up, ToeJam and Earl movie gets a very special producer. The Sega Genesis game featuring two wacky alien characters with big personalities was one of the most popular games back in the 90s. It instantly became a cult classic, which meant it would sooner or later get a movie or series adaptation by a rich studio. And that's what's happening, folks. The Sega video game is getting a feature film adaptation by none other than Amazon Studios. But that's not the only thing special about it. The exclusivity comes from its producer, who also happens to be everyone's favorite basketball player. The NBA superstar Steph and Curry's unanimous media production company will be giving the movie the monetary boost it needs to make it. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the two funky-looking alien buddies will go on an interplanetary search for their beat-killing blues.
Isn't that Earth right there?
But they were running out of time.
Screenwriters from Hotel Transylvania 4 will be on board to pen down the story while there's still room for a director and a cast on the train. ToeJam and Earl will be the latest title in line next to the likes of Super Mario Bros. Movie and The Last of Us as video games get their big break on screen. Steph and Curry will be teaming up with Story Kitchen and Amazon Studios with a plot that will reflect the spirit of the game but will be a little different. While in the game, ToeJam and Earl, who hail from a planet called Funkatron, crash land on Earth. But now, they have to look for parts of their missing ship while trying to avoid getting picked up by hostile humans.
Hold up.
What up?
I only got 2 legs.
Hold up, what?
2 legs, Earl.
That ain't what I see.
Up next, Amazon Studios stepping in to give ToeJam and Earl movie adaptation. Amazon Studios is looking to shake things up a bit with ToeJam and Earl and add their take on the story. We all know it's up for debate whether The Rings of Power was the best series of 2022, but at least we know that Amazon will leave no stone unturned when it comes to making things big. So, with ToeJam and Earl, they're going for a little twist in the plot, in which the alien duo arrives on Earth but with a mission. The funny-looking aliens are here on Earth to search for a cure for a very special disease that has infected their home planet. It's destroying all their funk, groove, and rhythm. What can be worse than that? There's still no word about what type of movie it would be. Whether it would keep the original cartoon characters as they are, just like they do in Space Jam movies, or will they go completely animated? The details are still foggy at this point, but the good news is that the game's original creators, Greg Johnson and Mark Vorsanger, are also on board, along with Story Kitchen's Dan Yevans and Dimitri M. Johnson. Janelle Lindsay will be serving as the executive producer on the film for Unanimous Media, while Timothy I. Stevenson is stepping in for Story Kitchen. Video game movies are ushering in a new era in modern Hollywood with better takes on classic hits.
How about some bigger Mondo-sized maps? Don't get lost, Earl.
Hollywood has struggled in this regard a bit. We mean, people still got hots for Resident Evil, no matter how sidetracked they get. But many movie studios are beginning to stand the need to stick to the source material because that's what the people fell in love with in the first place. So they better not take out the groove and the jazz from this one. Coming up, what made ToeJam and Earl the greatest alien hip-hop adventure of all time? Back in the 90s, simple things were the better things. No grand visuals or soundtrack, and especially no over-the-top stories and characters. Back then, kids were happy with funky cartoon characters on weird missions. Like check out Grand Theft Auto. People were happy hitting old ladies on the road and driving their cars in a pond. Good old days. Anyhow, ToeJam and Earl was an instant hit because of its unique aesthetic and because games like Witcher didn't exist back then, so people had to make do with what they got. The game had serious cult appeal, just like Mario Bros., and was called a sleeper hit of its time. Now, compared to the games we play on Xbox, PlayStation, and even Nintendo, ToeJam and Earl would seem like a doodle. So what made them tick that it still fills people over 30 with nostalgia? Sometimes there's no definitive reason as to why people love a certain game. It wouldn't be a lie to say that the gaming dynamic and the ability to play randomly generated levels was not a commodity that every video game enjoyed. So, it instantly attracted people because it could be played over and over again. The idea was pitched by creator Greg Johnson, who thought it would be sweet to make humans look like bad guys for once. The 2D animation, minigame mode, and the concept of simply collecting stuff and avoiding enemies have been the tagline of almost every game in the 90s. These types of fun games have their own appeal, which is hard to explain because even science can't explain what goes on in a gamer's head. So yeah, it's just the frenzy. Next up, how has the game survived all these years? There's no answer to that. The game did have one or two lackluster sequels, which obviously didn't have the same charm as the original game. The only reboot that caught people's attention in the game's 30-year popularity is ToeJam and Earl, Back in the Groove. The sequel was dubbed outstanding, and it was all thanks to non-traditional investors and a $500,000 Kickstarter campaign. Actually, the Home Alone star, Macaulay Culkin, sparked the fire for the game's revival when he posted a picture of him playing the game instead of watching the Oscars. Millennials practically grew up with Culkin, and to have him endorse the game with its creator was the signal the fans needed. And why do people still love a 2D animated game when we can just play Call of Duty? That's because games like these are full of personality. They carry a traditional element that helps people remember how it all started. We mean, players had to worry about the man with a lawnmower in ToeJam and Earl instead of a zombie freak. Revival of retro games and then having success is kind of rare, but the beauty of this one is that whether you played the original or not, you'll still be pleased with the updated one. It has the audacity to carry the color, groove, and personality of the original one. Luckily, kids these days can have a taste of ToeJam and Earl, Back in the Groove, on Nintendo Switch, Mac, PlayStation 4, PC, and Xbox One. Following that, Stephen Curry once appeared in a video game in an unexpected way. NBA superstar Stephen Curry is no stranger to appearing in video games and even playing some. Before his media company became a gigantic sponsor for the new ToeJam and Earl feature movie, the famous athlete once appeared in a video game, and it wasn't NBA 2K23. The Golden State Warriors star sneakily collaborated with legendary player Michael Jordan for a special game character in PGA Tour 2K23. The four-time NBA champion was more interested in appearing on the green rather than a court. But that's not all. The basketball player even shot a 157 in the first two rounds of the Ellie Mae Classic in 2018. And boy, the guy can hit the ball as well as put one through the hoop. Then, there was always this question, if not basketball, then golf? To which Curry replied that the game had always competed in terms of his attention. But you never know if he put the same effort in golf instead of basketball, he could have made it. And finally, these are the most highly anticipated upcoming video game-based movies. 'Tis the season of movies based on successful video games. And while Hollywood had its fair share of failures in that department, they're slowly learning. As for gaming enthusiasts, the upcoming years are perfectly lined with some of the biggest game-based movies for you to feast your eyes on. The talk of the town as of now is definitely the Chris Pine starter Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, which is looking smokin'. It's set for March 3rd, 2023 release, and nerds from all over the world will be filling up the theaters. After that, we have one or two Silent Hill movies silently in production, while we've also been treated with a Mario Brothers movie trailer. The shocking entry in this list is definitely an untitled Poppy Playtime movie, which will have horror fans roll in their beds with joy. And let's not forget The Last of Us. That's a wrap for this video. Are you also freaking out about the ToeJam and Earl movie? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.